There has never been a more important time to be talking about Donald Trump's cover-up of his relationship in crimes alongside Jeffrey Epstein than right now. Donald Trump thinks just because he pretended to support the release of the Epstein files, just because he signed a bill into law, we will all believe that he has been supportive of transparency this entire time. But that is not the case. Donald Trump is just trying to disguise his cover-up in a different way. But he is unable to, both in our government and outside of it, where today we saw the release of court documents alleging new Trump-Epstein child crimes that are incredibly disturbing and carry serious consequences. We are going to get into this lawsuit, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting the work that we are doing. Now, before we get into these court documents and what they are alleging about the trafficking ring that Donald Trump was allegedly running, I want to start with what Kash Patel said to Adam Schiff when pressed about Epstein's trafficking ring, and Patel saying that there was no one else involved, which is being disproved by new evidence today.
You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself? And you said himself, there's no credible information, none. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And Kennedy, the information we have again is limited, and Senator Kennedy said the answer is no one, and you said for the information we have. So is it your testimony today that in all the Epstein files, that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked no one to anyone but himself? Is that your testimony, Mr.
I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic anyone else.
Did he traffic any young woman to someone other than himself? That was Mr. Kennedy's question, Senator Kennedy's question.
The information that 3 administrations have had access to have made determinations that there are no investigative leads that were credible to prosecute and investigate any others. I'm specifically stating
whether it's your testimony today.
Well, you just read it, and I said it 10 minutes ago, so let the record reflect my testimony.
I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding, because there are victims like Virginia Guifer who have testified otherwise, who have said otherwise, and you're telling the American people today that the Epstein list is a single name and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're to believe?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying, and well, you can say whatever you want.
Let me ask you this. When Todd Blanche went to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, she said, but did I think these guys were coming for that? I really don't. If you met Epstein, there's no way that this cast of characters, of which it's extraordinary, and some are in your cabinet, who you value as your co-workers and you know would be with him if he was a creep or because they wanted sexual favors. A man wants sexual favors, he will find that. They didn't have to come to Epstein for that. And the next question Todd Blanche, the president's former criminal defense lawyer, asked is not who in the cabinet, who are you referring to? His question is, so when's the last time you think you were with Mr. Epstein when he got a massage? So let me ask you, who are those cabinet members that Ghislaine Maxwell was referring to that, that were part of this cast of characters associated with Mr. Epstein? Who are they?
The Deputy Attorney General took the aggressive step that no one else did and interviewed Ms. Maxwell for 2 days, and we released the entirety of that transcript.
Who are the cabinet members?
So Kash Patel, someone who might have contributed more Epstein conspiracy theories than anyone else in this administration, of course, right up until the moment when they could actually release information about Jeffrey Epstein that would be damaging to Donald Trump. Kash Patel, who has said we need to get all the documents out, that this is the biggest scandal in history again, up until the moment it was going to hurt Donald Trump. He's now saying, and this is incredibly important, there was no one else involved. And why is Kash Patel trying to make that case to us? Why does he want us to believe that there was no one else involved? Because while Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump can stall information coming out of the DOJ, they can stall information coming out of the FBI. What they cannot stall, what they cannot stand in the way of, is subpoenas going out to other individuals who are involved in this trafficking ring That is why Kash Patel wants to say there is no one else involved. You do not need to look into this. Please to be distracted. Turn your attention somewhere else. There is no one else who can speak ill of Donald Trump. That is what he is saying. It is a farce. It is a beyond inconceivable lie that he is telling. It is why Adam Schiff gave so much pushback. And it is why today we are learning about just how expansive this trafficking ring is, a new lawsuit alleging some serious crimes against Donald Trump that I want to get into right here. Trump slapped with massive lawsuit alleging Epstein identical trafficking operation. Donald Trump has been slapped with a $310 million lawsuit alleging the president engaged in a trafficking venture that was identical in every material respect to the sex trafficking operation allegedly spearheaded by Jeffrey Epstein. Filed on November 24th in Palm Beach County. The lawsuit names Trump in both his individual and official capacity as president, alongside Tesla founder and Trump ally, Elon Musk and Microsoft founder Bill Gates, both of whom have spent time inside Epstein's home, according to reports. And in Musk's case, his own admission, the plaintiffs in the lawsuit, whose names have been redacted, accused Trump and others of operating an 8-year trafficking and exploitation venture that began in 2018 that has continued and escalated under the current Trump administration. According to an uncertified copy of the lawsuit published and reported on Tuesday by the hyper-local news outlet Boca News Now, specifically, the plaintiffs accused Trump of grooming the lead plaintiff in the lawsuit, an unnamed minor on whose behalf the lawsuit was filed, starting in 1998, the exact year the plaintiff was born. They accused Trump of using Gates's foundation as the primary cover and silencing mechanism to continue the operation, as well as facilitating coordinated sexual assaults. The plaintiffs also alleged that the minor plaintiff's infant daughter was taken from her as punishment for filing lawsuits, which they argue was identical to Epstein's use of custody threats against mothers who sued. Additionally, the plaintiff accused Trump and the others named defendants of having attempted to murder the plaintiff no fewer than on 5 separate occasions between 2023 in November of this year, including by way of poisoning, vehicular assaults, and orchestrated physical attacks designed to appear accidental. Trump is not facing any active criminal charges and has and continues to deny any wrongdoing as it relates to Epstein, who died in 2019 awaiting trial on trafficking charges. The plaintiffs in the case are seeking at least $310 million in damages, more than $134 million in attorney's fees, an injunctive relief that would include the immediate return of full legal and physical custody of the lead plaintiff's daughter. They also asked the court that the trial be expedited, so that the trial by jury is held by December 20th. I find this incredibly important, considering that one of the under-discussed stories in the Epstein files was a lawsuit that was going to be brought forward against both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein by a minor who had allegedly been assaulted by both men. This has not been covered because it did not go forward. It did not continue. Of course, we know there were lots of threats used by these two men, but this is just an incredibly important to continue to talk about, especially again, as Donald Trump is focused on silencing any person with connection to him or to Epstein. And the most obvious example is Ghislaine Maxwell, whose happily spent time in prison is still not covered nearly enough. Jamie Raskin was calling out right here.
Todd Blanche's tweet today, you were trying to get Todd Blanche to actually deliver testimony to your committee. It seems that tweet, with him willing to identify for you what isn't in the Epstein files, is at least the beginning of possibly valuable testimony.
Well, that's right. All these emails, of course, completely debunk and discredit what Ghislaine Maxwell told Todd Blanche when he went over and engaged in that sweetheart interview with her. Now his defense to this, we didn't have all of the emails from the Epstein estate. First of all, I find that almost impossible to believe. If you look at the index of what was seized by the FBI, and includes 40 computers from Jeffrey Epstein, 26 storage drives, for a total of I think it's more than 300 gigabytes of material. So the idea that his emails weren't in there is ridiculous. And of course, they probably didn't look. If they were in there, they never looked for them, because the very first thing they did when they took over the Department of Justice was they summoned all of the prosecutors' materials that had been assembled over the years, and they declared the case over. They shut it down before they looked at anything. But let's assume that he knew what he was talking about and he was telling the truth, that they were not in there. Obviously, the thing to do now is to say, okay, we're going to have a second round of interviews with the witness here, with Ghislaine Maxwell, now that we have all of these emails that completely debunk and undermine what it was she was saying. But they're not going to make any movement in that direction, of course, because they just want the whole thing to go away. And all of it invites the question, in what capacity has he been acting? Is it as Donald Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer, or is it as the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, who's interested in protecting victims and future victims from a billion-dollar child sex predator ring that operates or operated or has operated all over the world? And so, maybe he was operating as Donald Trump's emissary to determine, one, that she would say nothing untoward about Donald Trump, and two, to see whether she was going to be cooperative enough to actually merit a pardon from Donald Trump. So he's acting kind of like a pardon attorney. Well, he obviously will do anything that Donald Trump tells him to do. I think what it is that Congress needs to do at this point is to say that we completely oppose a pardon for this convicted child sex offender who continues to lie.
The lane Maxwell is staying at what amounts to a 5-star hotel on you and I's dime. We are paying for her to get her food delivered, to stay in a room 4 times larger than any inmate, to do yoga, to have a puppy. There was a video of her on a sunny day walking around with an umbrella to shade her. Ghislaine Maxwell is living the high life in her fake prison because she has dirt on Donald Trump. And there are so many people who also have that same amount of dirt. They are being kept quiet out of fear of retribution, not hopes of a pardon. But nonetheless, they need to be heard. We need to be talking about this more. We are certainly going to be on this show. If you want to support, that is always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.